philosophical intrigue too as to, and I want everybody listening to this to think this, like, what would you do if you knew, if you just had a really good notion of what would you do if you thought that you were going to die tomorrow? If there was a good chance of you dying tomorrow, how would you spend your last day? That's a very good psychological question, and it tells you a lot about the kind of person that you are. And you had little bits of every bits of what people would do if they were going to die tomorrow, you know. And I waited to record this episode because I was thinking that, like, maybe I could present like certain scenarios of what I would do if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, anything like that. And the answer never changed. Like, I could have recorded this days ago and stuff. It's been a busy week for me. But what would I do if I knew I was going to die tomorrow? And don't worry, I'll get back to Game of Thrones later. I'm gonna use some Game of Thrones metaphors in my answer. But if I thought that I was going to die tomorrow, what would I do? Well, I honestly, and this is gonna sound sappy as hell, I spend as much time possible with the person that I care about the most, quite honestly. Hopefully with wine and cheese, and because, you know, wine and cheese is my thing. This podcast almost got named the Wine and Cheese Game of Thrones podcast, by the way. But but yeah, it's you see what everybody is doing on their last night. You have Jaime and Brienne and Tyrion, Davos, and Tormund Giantsbane and Podrick having a drink, sitting by fire, trading off stories and stuff. And then out of nowhere, Tormund tells you all about Giant's breast milk. And then out of nowhere, Podrick starts, you know, getting his Johnny Gill on. And it's just, it's an interesting thing. Like, you have Sansa and Theon eating Winterfell soup, you know, eating soup, chilling, giving each other sex eyes and stuff. You have Arya. This gonna have its own little scene too, like Arya losing her virginity to Gendry, which pissed off a lot of people. And you know what? To everybody who got pissed off that Arya decided to spend what might be her last night on Earth getting some, shut the fuck up. Like, straight up. Like, the show's been on for 10 years. You watch Maisie Williams grow and stuff. You watch Arya Stark's character grow. Why in the fuck wouldn't she want to get laid if she might die tomorrow? You know? Why not? Why wouldn't you? And why wouldn't it be, which I thought she was going to hook up with Hot Pie? You know? And everybody complaining about Arya Stark's and Gendry getting together. Unlike you, Arya Stark is not dying a virgin, so shut the fuck up. Also, some really good scenes in this was basically they kind of address something, that how Tyrion differs from the books in the show, because in the show Tyrion has gotten progressively dumber. Like, he's presented as one of the most clever people around, but he's been making the most idiotic decisions and stuff. Like, he was trusting Cersei when everybody in the world knew that he shouldn't. You know, you had the scenes in Meereen where he's like trying to talk to the slave dealers and stuff and try to bring an end of slavery, trying to get his Abraham Lincoln on, which is not a good thing if you know me at all. Abraham Lincoln did not want to free the slaves. He ended up having to, but he was like, look, if I can keep slaves and keep the Union together, I would. That's a direct quote from Abraham Lincoln. So please stop touting him as the greatest president. Whatever. And you have this chilling conversation with Daenerys and Sansa. Sansa, who is like 8 feet tall in this scene. Sophie Turner is so tall. You guys have no idea. Sophie Turner is a very, very tall woman. And her and Emilia Clarke standing next to each other just shows you that height differential. Also, I want if you hadn't noticed this, please watch the episode again. But Sansa Stark is dressed a lot like Cersei. And I don't want to look too deep into that yet, but it's something that I've noticed from the first episode of this season. Like, she's dressed in all black and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, she's from the North. Yes, she is from the North, absolutely. However, she's been very colorful up until she got back home, and now she looks like she's running a sex dungeon somewhere. Which, whatever. It's winter's coming, I guess, and she's tall and motherfucker, and she has her own for all intents and purposes, eunuch hanging out. So in Theon, shit. So they're having this tense conversation. Sansa brings up that Jon is in love with Daenerys. Daenerys talks about how she's in love with Jon, and they talk about how short Jon is and stuff. Because, Maisie Williams, she's, they got a basketball court at Winterfell, apparently, and she's dunking on motherfuckers because she's tall as hell. So yeah. So then now Daenerys giving her, I'm going to take the 7 kingdoms back and all that shit. And Sansa's just looking at her like, all right, yeah. But what about the North? Because we are tired of Southern people coming in here trying to rule this shit. And Daenerys is just showing her character development, is just saying, well, she basically only has one goal. She's has one sight. She just wants to rule the 7 kingdoms no matter what. And Sansa's giving a different perspective. It's like, look, what if the 7 kingdoms don't want a fucking ruler anymore? What if that time is gone and you just like a relic of something that we just don't want anymore? Like, in the 10 years that this show has been going on, and like the what we've seen so far in the show, it's pretty safe to say that the one ruler for 7 kingdoms thing does not fucking work. There has literally not been there's been one time in this entire show that all 7 kingdoms were pretty much ran in harmony. And not even that, actually, as I just think about this. There's not been a time in the series itself where one king consolidated power over all 7 kingdoms. Because you guys have to remember that in season 1, when Robert was king, Dorne was really not part of like the happenings in the 7 kingdoms and stuff. Why? Because Robert basically looked past how Elia Martell was murdered by the fucking mountain, and the Lannisters got all this power and shit, and one of them got made the queen and shit. So Dorne was pretty much out of it. That's only 6 fucking kingdoms at that point. Then you got the War of the 5 Kings. Then you got the war. Then that consolidates down to now 3 kings, and then the Red Wedding happens. There was literally no time where one monarch took care of all 7 kingdoms. So at this point, people are just fucking over it. People are just over it. And Daenerys is pretty much there saying, well, I want this because my last name is Targaryen. And everybody's looking at her like, we don't care. Oh, but I have dragons. Yeah, we still don't care about that either. You just here with your dragons and yelling and stuff, saying that you got this and this and this. You literally left your other kingdom across in Essos. I don't even know if we're going to get back to Essos at all this season. I think Essos is just chilling. The Second Sons are supposed to be running shit, I guess. And that's it. I don't know if we're ever going to get that loose and tied up. I really hope we do. It's looking like we won't. But yeah. So there's that. Now Davos, the hype man of the Seven Kingdoms, I identify a lot with Davos Seaworth, because if you've ever had me motivate you do anything, then I'm very Davos-like. But Davos, they show a different side of him, as he's like, getting people prepared for the coming battle, because, that shit's coming. He's serving soup, and a little girl comes up. She's asking, she's like, which way do I go? He gives her a choice, like, where you want to go? He's like, you want to fight, or do you want to be safe? And he basically put her in charge of guarding everybody down in the crypts. Now, the crypts. Let's talk about the crypts for just a minute. And for those of y'all who hear my heavy accent, no, I did not say the Crips, the street gang. No, I said the Crips, like, the cemetery of Winterfell. A lot of people are posting up Facebook, oh, they got all the women and children down in the crypts. I'm like, all right, yeah. Well, what about the Night King can raise the dead and all that stuff? Yeah, but those bodies have been decomposing for a long time. And there's no, preservatives keeping them around and all that stuff. Also, here's something you guys have to know. Winterfell was built by Bran the Builder. Bran the Builder also built the wall. How did he build the wall? He built the wall to keep the White Walkers out. So he built it with ice and magic. Y'all don't think that magic is in Winterfell some way? I know they haven't introduced it. I know it's not a plot point, but they got a Deus Ex Machina that shit in there some way. The people in those crypts are going to be just fine. Until they're not. I could be totally fucking wrong. But, yeah, they're putting the women and children and Sam in the crypts. And I'll get to Sam in just a second. So, we got the rest of the Night Watch. Brotherhood without banners coming down. That was pretty cool, watching that reunion of Tormund and Jon. Also, if you're not hugging your friends like Tormund Giantsbane hugged Jon, they ain't really your friends, are they? Because Tormund out here is he is one of the best comic reliefs in such a serious show. And it's just beautiful watching this man whose last name I have so much trouble pronouncing. But Tormund Giantsbane is straight up the MVP when it comes to keeping such a serious show kind of lighthearted. They arrive, they go around the army of the dead from Last Hearth to come down and show look, they coming. They coming and they coming. They're gonna be here tomorrow. Not tomorrow. They gonna be here before the sunrise, and the sun is setting now, so we got to get ready. So they lay out this plan, and in the war room, and Bran, who I don't know who's wheeling Bran anywhere. Is Bran wheeling himself places? I know Winterfell has had to have installed these ramps that he's going up and down and stuff, but he basically points out what the Night King wants. The Night King wants to erase the world. Basically, the Three-Eyed Raven is the memory of the world. So his goal at this point is to kill Bran, as he's killed other Three-Eyed Ravens before Bran. And Bran is now the new Three-Eyed Raven. He was getting used to his Three-Eyed Raven powers. So he's going to use himself as bait to lure the Night King out. He's going to be in the God's Wood, and Theon is going to help protect him. Now, I'm going to talk about my theories in just a second, because the episode itself is just a beautiful thing. But before I talk about my theories and where I think the next episode is going to go, which is going to take up the next half of this episode, I want to talk about the title of the episode. Now, the title of the episode is called A Night in the Seven Kingdoms. So far in this episode, there are only 2 nights. No, 3, because Beric Dondarrion is a knight. and so is Davos Seaworth. 4 knights so far in this episode. There's Beric Dondarrion. 5 knights. Sorry.